Yes, you stop being a snob. Stop being a snob. Yes, I suppose that might be a bit of a weird intro, but as you can see from the title, this is a video all about getting the joy to read. And honestly, I believe that a lot of people don't read because of snobbish reasons. Either at least for me, I feel like the reasons people often give to why they don't like to read is A, reading is boring, or B, I would like to read, but I don't have time to read. And both of those, nope, not valid. I tell you, not valid at all. So if you go for the first reason, I don't like to read. I don't like to read. I mean, really, this is just so snobbish and so untrue. But yeah, that I mean, no, reading is not boring. It's not at all. Okay, so in case you didn't know, I suppose yeah, honestly, I feel like this kind of comes out of ignorance because in 1459, Gutenberg made a revolutionary discovery or invention. He made the printing press. After that, you could print books. Before that, stories were told or they were written down by monks. So, of course, they weren't really as accessible to everyone, but they still existed. After the printing press, it got much more common to write books and publish books. Granted, it wasn't until like the 1900 that like a lot more people were able to read because for a long time people weren't teach people were not learning to read because they were just supposed to work on the farm and they didn't need to read. But still, it has so because of that, books has like as a medium has been a thing since the 1400s. And there's published new books or released new books every week. In some ways, every day, because now you have self-publishing digitally. So yeah, there's probably I'm gonna say a billion books out there, probably more than a billion books out there. And you say that you think all of those are boring, all of those, yeah, you are, my friend, are wrong. You're wrong. Maybe the books that you've come into contact with are boring. Maybe you have like an idea that books equals classics like Jane Austen, Dickens, or Shakespeare. And I suppose if that's what you have been exposed to, then yeah, maybe books for you are boring. But that's far from every book. Uh, so yeah, that is completely wrong. On another note, maybe you think like, well, there's no books for me because you're very precise in your taste or you just like things to be like you, and maybe you are from a small town in a small country and you're I don't know, maybe you have X, Y, and Z things that make you unique. So like you're not completely normal. Maybe you're deaf, maybe you're blind, maybe you're uh, queer, maybe you're all of those, my dear friends. A, the publishing has been quite diverse these last 10, 20 years. Actually, in a way, they have been for a while, but like they've been much more diverse these last 10, 20 years. Or B, it is quite possible to read books that aren't completely like you and still relate to them. I mean, for example, fantasy books. A lot of people relate to fantasy books because a lot of them is about being different, being unique, and not being like everyone else. And that's a thing that a lot of you outsiders can relate to. So, yeah, there's definitely a book for you as well. And I suppose so. That's kind of I was saying like that's kind of it for like books are boring. I know they're not. So like first, yeah, so I didn't say that, but yeah, backing out of it. But yeah, first I'm just going to talk a bit about why everyone needs why everyone is a secret reader. At least like no one's not a reader. No, there's a book for everyone. There's a books for absolutely everyone. And then afterwards, I'm gonna give you some book examples. But yeah, so first about books being boring. No, there's a book for everyone out there. So like, yeah, there's quite a lot of books out there in the world. You will find a book for you. It's impossible in the whole wide world not to find one book for you. Maybe you're saying, well, no, I was like told to read in my childhood in children's in primary school and stuff, and I never found a good book. So like all the times when you were forced to go to the library, you never found one book that you enjoyed. Guinness World Records. I don't know how it's in other places in the world, but at least in Norway, like 95% of teens and like tweens love Guinness World Records. That, my dear friends, is a book. Not a fiction book, but it's a book. Books are not just fiction, they're also non-fiction. So, yeah, if you have enjoyed Guinness World Book of Records, you have enjoyed a book. So, yeah, that's that. Uh, and yeah, now I kind of want to go a bit to the other argument, was like, I don't have time to read. Okay, so you have time to watch 1,000 hours of Netflix, Amazon, or whatnot. You have time to scroll for 1,000 hours on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, but you don't have time to read. Yeah, I don't believe it. So like if you don't have time to read, like it's not like maybe you're thinking like this video is me saying like everyone should read as much as I do. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that everyone has a secret is a secret reader. Everyone has one book for them. Well, everyone has multiple books for them, but like there's at least one book that they will enjoy. And yeah, everyone has time to read at least one book a year. You do that. Even if you like, let's say that you work 12 hours a day. Let's say that you work 6 hours a week, 6 hours. That you work 6 days a week. Even then, most people have if you don't have vacation, you at least have like Sundays off. Like very few people don't have Sundays off. Also, like if you don't have Sundays off, you probably won't see this video because then you probably won't have access to like videos like this. I suppose that's a bit of a generalization, but I'm kind of thinking that like if you're one of those people who are working like 7 days a week in for like some people that don't give you any vacation or time off at all, you won't have time to watch this. So yeah, so, I mean, of course, you're out of the question, but like for most people, you at least have like at least one day off. And I say like I suppose also like for example, you'll get sick, you'll get COVID, you'll get sick, or maybe you're going on a work trip, then you have time to read. And I'm not saying like that reading means you have to read like a book or like 1,000 pages or 500 pages, 300 pages. There's lots and lots of smaller reads that are still reads. And also, if you have a commute to work or just like one day you're going someplace because of work, like that you normally work close to where you live, but one day you're going away, audiobooks audiobooks are perfectly fine, and they are books. They count as books. If you think they don't count as books, you are a snob. There's no doubt about it. You are a snob. That's no getting around that. You're a snob. Okay? Yeah. And also, I will also say, like in general, audiobooks, I would say, is a great way for a lot of people to get into books because, at least for me, like a lot of audiobooks, like they kind of made or breaked on like the a narrator, and there's a lot of great narrators out there. People who just kind of generally are audiobooks, like they work are audiobooks. They generally work as audiobook narrators, but also like people who are famous, like Tim Curry, Stephen Fry, you have Richard, I'm blacking out, but that, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who are actors, but also audiobook narrators, and they have amazing voices. In addition to this, you also have full cast audio, which BBC in Britain, in Norway, and I care does uh, pretty much thinking it's people who do it all over. But yeah, that's kind of the two normal people that, well, no, people that producers that off the top of my head I can think about. Full cast audio, in case you didn't know, means that there's a narrator, but there's also like a different voice for every character. And like instead of like you imagining them opening a door, it's like you hear all the sound effects. It's kind of like going to a theater just in your head, like just with the sounds. So like yeah, it's amazing. Well, yeah, at least all the ones that I've heard are amazing. They're great, and they make things come so alive. So yeah, that's definitely a great way to do it. So yeah, let's just check out on my blah blah blah. Yes, I've said a lot of things that I meant to say now. And yeah, if you, for example, if you work from home, so like you don't have a place to commute to, you just work from home, your home, you have a home office. Well, everyone at one point in time is going to bed, and I think a lot of people there is going to bed, are going to bed. I think a lot of people think that uh, think that they think that they can just go straight to bed from not going to bed. No, often you take some time to go to sleep, even though you're tired. And I think a lot of people kind of are half an hour, maybe 2 hours on their cell phones before they go to sleep. And I think a lot of people who heard about this, that it's kind of often, it's not really that healthy to look at your phone so much before you go to sleep. So here, people go to bed. Have a book on your nightstand. Have a short book on your nightstand. You can read half an hour or an hour every book every book every day before you go to sleep. Easy solutions. Like even if you all your day is busy, everyone needs to sleep. So having a book on a nightstand, great solution to reading a bit. And also, I suppose this is a bit weird video, but yeah, not weird, but yeah, also like if you're thinking that kind of, as I said before, I'm not saying you should read 200 books a year. I'm not saying you should read 50 books a year. I'm saying people can read at least 2 or 3 books a year. People have time for that, or at least one book a year. Some like it's like the reason for this video is kind of like, I suppose, threefolded. It's like one, there's been like at least in Norway there's been more and more like higher prices for the energy. So like the heating in our, yeah, so the energy prices going up, so it's expensive to have uh heated houses and making food and all that stuff. So like okay, and like TV takes energy, takes it takes power. So yeah, so if you like to read, that's an easy way to save energy. Also, a few months ago in October, November, there was actually they talked a bit on the news about how lots of Norwegians don't like to read. So they did a little segment on the news, which was quite cool. And acquaintance of mine, a Norwegian Instagrammer, she went on it, and then also a Norwegian book talker went on it, and they talked about how to make people love to read and get interested to read. I'm not quite sure if like that made people interested in reading after watching that segment. Hopefully, people are buying more books this Christmas than other Christmases. I don't know, but yeah. But also, so that's also kind of like made me want to do this video. And then I feel like there was a third reason. I don't know. It was just me generally thinking like, yeah, I suppose, yeah, I'm just kind of generally sick of people not liking to read or say like they don't like reading. You have not found the right book yet. You do like to read. Now, I suppose you might say, well, Renee, I suppose maybe you don't know this, but Renee, you've said before you hate sports. If you hate sports, can people be allowed to hate reading? Well, two things. First, this isn't a video about sports, it's a video about books. And second, well, at least to me, well, I suppose like on a more like macro level, on like a bigger, broader scale, people need to be able to read. Like for actually like, for democracy reasons, like just a lot of people actually lately there's been a lot of research saying that people often people cannot read, like they're physically, they can't do the act of reading. It's difficult for them to do the act of reading because they watch so much TV, they watch so much movies that are, like, reading words is something that people do less and less of. And because of that, they do worse in school. Because of that, they might not, they might be lowered and become mega people because they don't read newspapers and different news and stuff. And also, like, reading makes you more emphatic. Been that has been that is quite proved, like, a long time. uh so yeah, I mean, reading is important just for, like, the act of being able to read, but also, like, if you read this, you can never really be bored. At least I kind of feel like I'm very, very, really bored because often I think about books I read, or I, yeah, buy books. Like, this, it's kind of consumed me. I suppose not everyone is that into reading as me, but still. And, like, for example, as you say, like, well, if you love to read, then you'll never be bored because, like, if you're waiting for the bus, you can just open up a book and read a book while you wait. Now people often have their cell phones, but, like, still. And also, yeah, that's another thing. Like, there's also been, like, research saying that a lot of people spend a lot of time in front of screens. I suppose that's a bit ironic, me looking at the screen now. I mean, camera screen, but still. But, like, yeah, people spend a lot of time looking at their cell phone screen or their TV screen, so, like, they kind of want to cut down their screen time. But this is a good way to do that. Find a physical book or an audiobook. I suppose audiobooks still digital, but you can listen to an audiobook while you walk, while you do other tasks, etc., etc. And that's also quite a good plus for audiobooks. You can listen to audiobooks while you're tidying up, while you're making food. It's a good way to, like, multitask. So, like, if you say, like, I don't have time to read, well, you don't have time to read a physical book, but you can listen to an audiobook. I mean, also, like, people lately have been, like, very much into podcasts. Like, honestly, if you enjoy podcasts, you kind of enjoy books because the difference between a podcast and a non-fiction, it doesn't exist really. I wouldn't really say exist. I mean, both things are audible and both things are based on themes, and that's it. I mean, it's not really, only thing that's different is, like, the names in it, but, like, in actuality they're not that different. And also, uh yeah, there's actually also some podcasts out there who are, like, role play based, so that would be fictionalized podcast. And the difference between a fictionalized podcast and a audiobook, that's completely the same circle, same mash. There's no really, I mean, I suppose might be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure it's not that different at all really. So yeah, you have time to read. Yeah, where was I? Blah, 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 blah. Reading for bed, focus audio. Yes, yes. And yeah, again, I'm not saying that you should read, like, 2,000 books or long books. I'm just saying everyone has a book for them. So going around saying that books are boring, no, no, that's not acceptable. Oh yeah, also, yeah, there's also kind of forgetting about yeah, the sports thing. Like, I don't really like sports, and yet I do like a thing where you have to love to read. Well, for once, like, as I said, you have to read, be able to read to, like, exist in the world. I mean, to just read, like, the newspaper, or to just, like, read, for example, if you're gonna learn something new, you have to read instructions. I mean, reading is vital. Being able to, like, score goals on a team, that's not vital. It's, I suppose it's interesting, like, it's good for your health, yes, but at the same time, for me, well, I suppose one, technically I don't hate all sports. I like swimming, but that's the only thing I like. I suppose I often don't really like goal team sports. Not that I'm egocentrical, but yeah. I also like basketball, but still, like, I suppose with me, I mainly don't really like doing. I don't really like watching it. I suppose, I can kick around a football. I can play basketball, but watching it, like, Olympics and European finals, always so uninteresting to me. I never watch it. I don't care at all. Like, even if it's a team that's kind of important to me, like a team that's like close to where I live, or like my team from my childhood, like Bodø/Glimt, they won against Rome earlier this year. People were like, "Oh, we're so happy!" I'm like, "Cool, happy for you, happy for Glimt," but I'm not that bothered at all, really, at all. So yeah, that's that really. And there's, oh yeah, also like sports. I mean, as I said before, I don't like sports. I don't do sports. I like to go hiking, but also like in case there's some people don't do sports and don't do hiking, but like you can still have a pretty decent health even if you don't like sports or go hiking. Like maybe you walk to work or you walk instead of taking an elevator. That means you're pretty healthy. I mean, if you do that and also just kind of walk a bit around now and then, don't always take the bus or the car, but like walk a bit now and then. That is healthy enough. I mean, also yeah, you just I mean the general idea is that you're supposed to be movement at least every day. Like for some people say 1 hour, some people say half an hour, some people say 2 hours. But yeah, I suppose be a bit in movement. What I often do, I often take on the radio, I kind of dance to the radio, and also was depending on the song, that could make well depending on which radio station that could make me dance for like half an hour, maybe an hour, because if they have a lot of danceable songs, I will dance for that long. So yeah, you can easily be healthy and fine without being into sports. But without being able to read and like I suppose yeah, being at least able to enjoy reading, I would say that's quite a big lack or that's kind of big thing that you're lacking in life there. That's quite more important, at least in my head. I suppose yes, if you like sport and also like reading, cool, cool. I mean, cool if you do both. But like my jam is books, so this the video about books. Yeah, as you already know, 20 minutes into it. But yeah, so yeah, I've talked about quite a lot of things now. Yeah, and then if you're thinking, "Oh, maybe I want to read books, but I'm not really quite sure how to go about it." Well, you could easily like maybe you want to compete, maybe you need like a way to motivate yourself. You could find lots of reading challenges online, like or you can just make an challenge for yourself, like try to only read female authors for a whole year, or maybe you want to read half of the reads that you read be female. Or maybe you want to read queer authors. Maybe you want to read more nonfiction. Maybe you won't usually read nonfiction, you want to try to read fiction. Like try to like set goals for yourself. Only you know what you kind of what goals would fit for you, but yeah. Like goals, cool thing to do. Also, I feel like people often feel like, well, books. It's so anti-social because you just sit there and read. Well, you have book clubs. You can read a book and then talk about the book online in booknet. There's lots of people who read the same books. Or if people haven't read the same book, maybe if you talk about it enthusiastically enough and like if you make a cool reaction to it, other people will pick it up and then you can talk about it together. I mean, yeah. Also, like I feel like people like to talk about how books it's so unsocial. Well, movies, it's not like you need other people to watch a movie together. Like I would say, like the only like thing that's kind of has to be social is like team sports because you need more people to do it. But watching a movie, watching a TV series, it's not that social either. I mean, you watch it alone. I suppose you can watch it together. At the same time, like you can also like TV series. You don't need people to need other people to do it to watch it. You can watch a TV series alone and then afterwards talk about it. Which is the same thing you do with a book. You read it and then you talk about it. Or if you can sit together in a couch and watch Grey's Anatomy, you can sit together and read different books or read the same book together or read out loud. You can also do that. Read out loud. That's a nice, cool way to spend your time. So yeah, breaking myths all over the place. But yeah, reading books is not that much more antisocial than movies are or TV series. And like if you kind of feel like okay, I want to motivate, but I want to do it like socially, you can buddy read books. Like instead of like going to a book club, you can get one or two friends to buddy read a book with, or you can ask some friends on Instagram or Booktalk or like Storygraph, Goodreads. Does anyone want to read this book with me? And then you'll decide a date, and then you'll decide if you're gonna read one chapter each day or one chapter each week, and then you'll read one chapter and you'll discuss it. And that, well, it doesn't really have to be a discussion either. You can just be like, I like this character. It doesn't really need to be like be highbrow and interesting. Couldn't just be quite like lowbrow and interesting. So yeah, it doesn't really have to be that highbrow at all, really. I mean, yeah, yep. And yeah, and it made me thinking like, well, which books should I read? Like, I want to read, but like, I don't know which books to read. Like, I want to be social. Like, if you're a social person, there's quite a lot of books that I would say more or less always are kind of like trendy. Like, if you check out the New York Times bestseller list, or you might check out which books are being talked about on Twitter or being talked about. Like, just like you could just Google books and then like the month you're in, books January 2023, like if you're watching this next month, and then people could like you can find a list of like upcoming books or books that people are excited about, and yeah, there's probably almost always going to be something that interests you there, one way or another. Yeah, sorry. Then yes, I think we pretty much have talked about all the things here, and then I'm gonna get on to my book recommendations. Also, yeah, I think I haven't really mentioned this before. Well, a bit, but yeah, I feel like people all think like books they're long, heavy stuff. There's quite a few books that are shorter reads, and short reads are valid as well. Short reads count. They do. They count as books. So yeah, for example, you have Bargain Bin Romcom, which actually is a poet collection, but it's like people think poetry. Well, this isn't modern poetry, so it's kind of different. It's modernized, and like some poems are like this. Is quite it's one poem. It's just quite short, but it's one poem. So yeah, if you want to read like something like you just want to manage to finish one book, this is a good place to start. Good place to start? Yeah, I would say good place to start. It is 60 pages, sorry, 68 pages, so quite a quick read for most people. I suppose, yeah, I suppose like what book you should pick up, I suppose yeah, in a way, it's kind of like up to you. Like if you're not really tend to read books because you think you find them boring, or if you like feel like you're dyslexic, it's a difficult to read books, then it's kind of two different things to recommend you. Because okay, I would say like this. I suppose maybe in a way it's for both because it's short, and so it could be both for people who are dyslexic but like kind of want to try a bit, but also for people who don't like to read but like maybe I'll read a short book because I suppose short books are good for both of those people, those target audiences. And then we have a short read here, Sophia Khan and the Baby Blues. This is actually it's a book written in diary form, which is actually quite common, I would say, thing in book world, in the book in the book community. So like if you think of like, well, I don't know, books are so boring. Well, here's this kind of like one like paragraph, like one part for every day, and like some days could like be one page, some day pages could be like 3 pages. So yeah, quite short like places. Like you could easily just read one day and then put it down and then put it up back up later. Like often people like to like finish a chapter or like part of the book, and like that way having books that have chapters that are short or parts that are short, good way, because then you kind of feel like, huh, I finished that part today, even though you didn't finish like many pages, you still finished it. So yeah. Then we have Women Don't Poop and Other Lies, which is quite a short read. It's a non-fiction about, I suppose, in a way, toilets and the toilet health of females in the United States. It's like you have text and then you have pictures. So yeah, this is an interesting, fun non-fiction book. I read quite quickly because yeah, lots of pictures in it. So yeah, also like you might think, well, if you read a book, you have to be a book with just words. No, there's lots of books with many pictures, and they are also valid, quite valid as reads. And then you have the Stonewall Riots, a comic book. As I just said, comic books count as well as books. This is a quite short comic book, but a good one. It's a non-fiction, or non-fiction is like it's a non-fiction based story about the Stonewall riots. So it's a good place to like read a bit about that historical event, but also yeah, a nice way to get a little reading in. And yeah, quite a good read. And then you have this one, which I would say is kind of like one of those cheating books, kind of those books for people who don't really like to read, because it's just it is a collection of maps. So it's just kind of a lot of maps, and then there's some text at the top here, or different places here. And yeah, so if you're curious and maybe you think like you should read one book, check out this one because there's lots of visuals, but there's also nice, interesting facts there. So yeah, check it out. And then I think I forgot to mention this before, but yeah, I will say like a thing that I would recommend people who haven't read that much or don't have time to read that much. Most people have time to read, but I suppose some people have less time than others. But yeah, is essay books. This one being one of them. The 2000s made me game. I read it this year and quite a fun little read. And I would say, yeah, essays books in general because I mean most essays are kind of like maximum 5 pages. Often they're like three to 4 pages. So you can like, easily read one essay a day before going to sleep. Or I suppose if you don't read as fast as me, you can read one essay over 2 or 3 days. So yeah, quite easily done. So this one, or for example, Talking as Fast as I Can by Lauren Graham, both essays, but also like biographies, bio, it's a story about her life, but also like essays about her life. So yeah, would recommend these two, like in general, but also yeah, essays in general. And then comic books, well, more comic books like Marvel 1602. Actually, I read this one myself, but yeah, quite want to read it. It's kind of like it takes the Marvel characters and puts them in 1602 England, so it's quite fun twist on it. And yeah, also in general, like if you like movies, a lot of movies are based on books, and yeah, so that's a great way to place to start with. I would say audiobooks and books based on movies. I love them. Like I love them will like make you learn more about the things that happen in movies. They like lots of movies aren't exactly the same as books. Most of the books are based off. Most of them aren't that similar. So you would get a new like you get new information and whatnot. And yeah, I have Moonstruck, a very fun comic. So this year, Paranormal Universe with queer elements. Definitely recommend it. Books like Stonebrook Heiress, which I actually read earlier this year. I read it in November, I want to say. Yeah, November. It's kind of, and I saw it, I think I got it like, yeah, I think I got it just kind of randomly Google like Heiress or something, and I got this book up and thought, looks cool. Put it on a whim, read it, loved it so much. I would say it's kind of like Legally Blonde meets, uh, Legally Blonde meets, I feel like I had another idea. Yeah, meets kind of shopaholic in a way. Okay, so it starts. So the main character Bella, she's an heiress to like a soup concern or soup empire. But in the beginning of the book, she gets her dad and she gets fired, so she has to, and she becomes broke, so she has to like figure things out for the first time, and it's very funny. And yeah, I feel like all people also have this idea like books aren't funny. Well, yeah, quite a few books are quite funny. You have to find the right book, my darling. Again, find the right books and you will find a great read. But yeah, this one, if you love Legal Blonde, check out this book, I would say. women in art, or kind of I suppose also in the way like a stand-in for like this last few years, few maybe 10 years now. We've gotten more and more books like this where we have like biographies with females. So this one is also written by the author who wrote Women in Science, Women in Sports, and Women uh, on Planet Earth. And yeah, I love science. So yeah, all of these focuses on female icons in different areas, and they have like there's like a picture of the person and then a page of text. So it's biographies with just one page. So think of this one, and then you think of good night stories for rebel girls, or you could have rejected princesses, which is also another great one. I love these, are just amazing, and yeah, I mean, since it's just kind of one page, each character, you could read it like maximum a week if you read slowly, and also like you kind of discover quite new people you have never heard of. Like, oh my god, there's a person who has done that in like history. I mean, you just get so many interesting surprises, and yeah, also I recommend this one highly, I would say, because I feel like this one I learned quite a lot of new names like women in science. I feel like, at least for me, I feel like I can easily name a few people in science who are females, like Marie Curie, and then you have, okay, I'm blanking, but yeah, Marie Curie, and you have more people. But female artists, except Frida Kahlo, I can't really think of that many. So before at least reading this book, so yeah, this book I really really enjoyed. And then like, and a bottle of rum. So like, if you're thinking, well, I don't know if you like fiction stories. Well, there's quite a lot of also non-fiction books out there that are quite cool, like this one, a bottle of rum, which is, it's actually quite interesting because, at least to me, it's quite interesting. It's non-fiction book both about the history of rum, but it's also about the history of the Caribbean, the history of pirates. I mean, it's kind of, yeah, it has tells a lot of stories. I suppose in a way, it tells the story of New World through rum, and it's quite fun and also quite enlightening. And yeah, you see, I've highlighted some stuff here already 2 years ago now, and quite love it. And I feel like people should check it out. Have I'm only in it for the parking, which is a biography, and I feel like in a way like, I feel like often people say like they don't read, and then I talk more to them and they say, well, I read biographies. Well, that's books as well. Or like they all read, but they like crime books. That's books as well. That counts. Like, don't be a snob, as I said in the beginning. Don't be a snob. Everything, audiobooks, comic books, graphic novels, everything counts as books. And so yeah, this one, it's Lear Riley. He's a British comedian known as Lost Voice Guy. He won British Got Talent a few years ago, and he's since done like stand up. And this is his life story. It's not a long book, but yeah, it's quite interesting story about his life being disabled in the UK and being him in the UK. And yeah, I would say like more, yeah, more generally lately, the last few years, I've been reading more and more biographies. But it's just a great way of kind of getting into people's minds and different experiences. And yeah, I really like that. Have Desire and Deep Blue Sea. Uh, this is not a fiction story, but it is 130 pages, so quite a short one. So people say like, well, I don't have time to read. There's quite many short stories you can check out. So this one being one of them. So yeah, good example for short story. Another biography, Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. I feel like maybe everyone and their mom read this a few years ago, but it's still kind of feel like it's still being talked about, still being read now and then, and it is a great book. I feel like also in a way because it's a biography, it kind of feels like, I suppose depends on which one you read, but I feel like this one you can easily put up, read a few pages in, well, a chapter in, and put it down, so you can easily like read it now and then. You don't have to read it in one go. Like bad if you don't have time to read a lot in one sitting, you can easily read this over a few weeks, a few months, no worries, no worries at all. I suppose that's also kind of a good perk really of nonfiction because you can easily pick it up and put it down without like having to remember where you were in the story, because it's kind of like small stories in one big story in a way, I would say. We have Sure I'll Be Your Black Friend by Ben Philippa. So this is another essay collection. And yeah, Zed, I really like essay collections. That's kind of as well in a way been my jam these last few years. And yeah, this is about his story, but also being a black friend and being a minority. And yeah, great read. Weird things customers say in bookstores. Again, a short read, but short reads count as well. Send me now. Short reads count as well. And yeah, so this is just kind of quotes from bookstores around the world, really, and also fun pictures. And yeah, quite a fun book. I suppose maybe it works most for like if you're very much into books, because uh, some of these kind of uh, some of these parts, like you have to know like that that person, like for example, if people come in and ask, do you have a book by Jane Eyre? That doesn't It wouldn't work because Jane Eyre is a title and not an author. But like if you didn't know that that's a title of a book and not an author, you wouldn't get the joke. But I think a lot of these also you could like understand without it as well. And yeah, very funny. Art Matters. So this is kind of again a short read. I like little quotes and stuff about books and library and stuff, and nice pictures by Chris Riddle. So yeah, good book. Quite a short, good book to read. And then in a kind of vein of like, there's no books for me. Yeah. Okay. Not Your Villain. Second one in second one in companion series. This is like a dystopian world, but it's not like a Hunger Games dystopian. It's more like a evil empire, well, evil ruler, more kind of dystopian, I suppose, in a way, I would say. And the main character is biracial. He is, yeah, he is genderqueer, and yeah, so it's just has all the. It's also a shapeshifter, so he has magical powers, and it's also like if you like Marvel, but you want it to be more diverse, I suppose more diverse in our world it is. Check out this series. Hope Divided, which is civil war in the US, but with African Americans. So like if you like historical books but not Second World War, or you're tired of the same stories over and over, check out this series. If you like historicals but you feel like, oh well, they're always about the same story, historical with sapphic love story. Or if you like books but like I don't know if you have time to read, check out this book, which is another story written in diary form. It has pictures here and there, and it's a middle grade story, so it's quite quick to read and stuff. Also, yeah, forget to mention it, but yeah, people often think like, okay, I'm 25, I'm 30, I'm 40, I have to read books for adults. There's quite a few books for kids that work as for adults as well. Percy Jackson or macabre reads, or yeah, there's quite a lot of them that work for a lot of ages. And if you kind of want to read something quick, but you want to read something, pick up a children's book. A lot of them are quite fun and quite work still, no matter your age. And then we have Jews Don't Count by David Baddiel, which I actually read in this November. I read this copy of also. I got it from the library. It's an essay collection. But this is kind of more based on like a theme of like Jews don't count. A lot of this other essay collection is more about people's lives, and this is more like as was Jews and Jews in the media, but also as was also about David Baddiel, him being the Jew that has written this story, more this collection of essays. And yeah, a very interesting and good book. Kind of opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. And yeah, that's as people think people know this, but like books can definitely open your eyes to new things you didn't know about. At least I started thinking like, well, okay, so why books and like why not movies? Because I feel like people often say like read books because you'll be entertained. Well, you can be entertained by books, by movies also. Read books because you'll understand something that you didn't know before. Well, for example, like when I lived in Chile, I learned actually quite a few Spanish words by looking at subtitles for movies. So I learned things from movies and TV series as well. It's not just stupid stuff when you watch TV. There's actually quite a lot you can learn. But I feel like the things that's kind of like books is important. Is like in books, I like yes, a lot of books are short, but you can have longer books, or you can have like, or for example, like this book, quite a short book. You can go into a subject, or you go into like an experience in a way that you can't in movies. I suppose you could in TV series because you have several episodes and stuff. I suppose it depends very much, but like still, I would say like the way you can get into a person's head the most actually without telepathy, which doesn't exist sadly, is books because you get into their heads and you can like yeah you can understand their experience in a completely different way that you can't in movies and TV series. So yeah. Then we have this one, yes, Nattbet. So yeah, this is a Norwegian book, came out this year. Maybe it will be translated, but I just kind of also want to show it off. So it's kind of a collection from. It's an old movie. It's an old women's magazine, and then the Jane Jordan, the illustrator, the author, she bought lots of magazines online, and she kind of looked at them. She kind of and said, "Okay, there's a lot of interesting stuff here." So she kind of analyzed and stuff. So there's kind of like it's quotes directly from like here's a quote from the magazine, and then she has her own pictures. So yeah, it's kind of a comic book, non-fiction comic book, and yeah, in case you see this gets translated, or if you're Norwegian or Swedish, or maybe you just kind of want to have it in your house because it's just also beautiful pictures. Like I would say like kind of also yeah, pictures kind of I would say transcend words and language. So yeah, just an amazing book in general. Lingo, which is Gaston's Storen story about languages through Europe. So it's a like I suppose it's in a way an essay collection. How did you find essay? Well, I suppose it's a collection of short texts. Yeah, short texts. So it's like one text on like yeah, each text is focusing on one language, and it's like one text is like 5-6 pages, so quite short. And there's also it's pictures here and there. But yeah, it kind of gives you an insight into languages around Europe, and they're quite fun. This text is not like, oh, languages, interesting, business facts. No, it's fun, upbeat. I suppose it's kind of popular science because I mean, you learn stuff, but it's in a fun way. So yeah, if you like languages, I would say definitely check out this book. That are Norwegian, but I think both of these exist, I would say, in different languages as well. I can't think at least. So we have Dette Landet, which is a collection of local newspaper stories. So in Norway, local newspapers, a lot of them have like interesting stories. I suppose if you have a local newspaper from like a small place, they're often like talk about like this cat is gone, or like there's like small, tiny, interesting, or often funny stories. And yeah, so like this is kind of it's just kind of pictures from the newspaper and then some bit of text to it. And I'm thinking at least if you don't find this in English, you probably find something close to it, like lots of pictures with text, yeah, and then some text. So yeah, and this is a book. This counts, my difference. And then we have På gyngende grunn and Reise med Hurtigruta. I've shown this before a few years ago, but yeah, it's by Ola Brandnes, a Norwegian singer. So it takes the Hurtigruta, which is the coastal boat. It's actually one of the most famous boats in the world. The boat goes from all the way. It goes from Bergen, up to Kirkenes. So it goes like 80% on the Norwegian coast. So you see lots of beautiful coast on the way on the trip. So it goes up and down. So it's kind of been described as the world's most beautiful coast boat trip. I've taken it 2 times. It's a very beautiful trip, very expensive, but yeah. So this in this book, he does the whole trip, and he has like small text where he introduces people on the boat, or he talks about people who live in different places, and then he has nice pictures. So it's a non-fiction book about the boat, but it's also about the places in Norway, the places that people meet. So it's, yeah, quite a nice book. But yeah, it's a Norwegian book. I don't pretty sure it's not out in English yet. Is it out in Swedish? I don't know. But like, you have very beautiful pictures. So I suppose if you like a picture whore and you just love pictures, maybe buy this book online anyway. I suppose I'm not sure if you could buy it on Amazon and stuff. I suppose you could ask me to buy it for you. But yeah, anyway, yeah. It's, and I suppose like in general, like there's probably other books I would think out there like similarly where it's about like a specific boat or specific, maybe there's a book about the Route 66 or like something like that, and it has beautiful pictures in it and stuff. Like a book like this where it's both non-fiction but also interviews and stuff, that probably exists out there, and that's, yeah, quite a fun book to like. If you're only gonna read one book a year, read this book, because yeah, you can get a lot of book for your money, really. And yeah, I think I'm just gonna end there, really. I've talked now for like close to 1 hour, but yeah, hopefully I've gotten my point across. Don't be a snob. There is a book out there for you. Of course, if you're gonna watch this, you're probably already into books, but I suppose maybe you have a brother, a husband, a sister, whatnot, who needs to watch this, or maybe you're a teacher who kind of gets new ideas from me doing this video. But I suppose if you're a teacher, you should have already known these ideas. But yeah, I kind of felt like doing this video, so yeah, and yeah, see you in next video. Bye.